Well, ladies and gentlemen, so welcome to our conjunction video of the week. And this week we're going to be covering the conjunction of Mercury, Mars, and Saturn. And what happens when Mercury, Mars, and Saturn are conjunct in one sign, in one house, which is known as a conjunction. And as always, if you do not know where your Mercury is, if this conjunction is happening for you, all your other planetary placements, all your other planetary details, for that check out the links here. Check out my full astrological report, including my books, Astrology, Conjunction, and Aspects of the Speed of Light, including all my consultations here. So, Mercury, Mars, and Saturn conjunction. This is again a very powerful conjunction. Because Mercury is what? Mercury is our communication. Mercury is our speech. Mercury is our logic, our analytical mind. Mercury is our reasoning. Mercury is our ability to, communicate our message to the others. Mercury is management skills. The ability to manage things comes from Mercury. Then you see Mars. Mars is a soldier, fighter, athlete, killer, weapon expert, blacksmith, engineer, surgeon, somebody who is all about action. Whatever process that requires action is Mars. Like an engine of the car. Engine of the car is the action to move the car. It's Mars. Then you come across Saturn, another powerful planet. Saturn represents machinery, servants, organization, structure, discipline. Saturn is the reality of this world. Saturn is the limited potential that we have in this world. Saturn is time. That's why, Saturn is a significator of life and death, because it represents the limited time of limitness of the time. So what happens when these three things come together in your horoscope? First of all, you got to notice that this person will be a very, very hardcore communicator. Like when it comes to communication, they probably have the hardest time in a relationship, especially in a romantic relationship, because they just do not know how to convey their message across in a nice, diplomatic, peaceful manner. It is the message that is always requiring authority and winningness and competition. They're always out there to communicate in a very straightforward, strict form. Their ability to communicate is all about decisions. Like, this is what it is, this is how we're going to be, this is how it's going to be. They're very short with their communication. And they're very direct with their communication. And they're kind of cold with their communication. Because they feel that they need to communicate the reality of this world to you to show you their perspective of life. That's all it is. They think that this world is a war zone, and you have to be militarizing your strategies and your communication and how you look at everything. So everything becomes like this military war zone. So regardless if it's a relationship, if it's a business, if it's a job, if it's a project, even if it's a non-profit work, they are very much dedicated to the work. They will work night and day to accomplish that work. And they take that work very seriously. So that's one part of the conjunction. The other part of the conjunction is Mercury represents our ability to learn. So Mercury is the significator of education. So when you have these two technical and mechanical planets like Saturn and Mars together with Mercury, in my own experience, I can tell you, when I do all these consultations, that many people become either engineers, new age technologists, mechanical engineers, lawyers, and civil servants, like a policeman, IAS officer, ICP officer, ITX officer. I don't know how many officers are out there. Whatever the officers out there, it is this conjunction because they're like, I'm willing to fight for what I think is right. And I'm going to relay my message out there too. Now, especially when it comes to managing, when it comes to communication, they can either energize a crowd, okay, or they can diffuse a crowd and make the crowd go against them. Because, like those people, I in my own life, I've had managers when I used to do a job in retail or in mortgage, or in the financial field. I've had managers that I just despised. I hated them. They were very direct with you, very cold with you. They only wanted you to be a machine, nothing else. Because they were looking at themselves as a machine. So they're like, everybody else has to be a machine. And this is where things can either go really great or really wrong. Like either you can really control a large group of army, or you can have everybody quit on you because of your stubbornness to go by the message that you think is right. You want to teach what is right in your head up here. And we're not even including moon here. Moon is your mind, right? What you're thinking inside. Regardless of where moon is, this conjunction will make you only preach and teach and advise what you really believe as a hardcore truth. So what you will see is very, very hardcore religious people or spiritual people or patriotic people or somebody who's strictly just Democrat or somebody who's strictly just Republican. They don't see the gray area. They only see black and white because there's this soldier mentality now. The soldier mentality is really becoming more robotic with the conjunction of Mercury and Saturn with Mars. But especially this conjunction is extremely good if you want to be an athlete. If this conjunction occurs in the 3rd house and 5th house, 6th house, 10th house, 11th house, you should definitely try to train your children or yourself as a young adult to become an athlete. Because look, many people have this conjunction and they become engineers, they become technologists. But there is going to be somebody who becomes the next great tennis player, basketball player, soccer player, football player. There are those combinations. Somebody is going to be bound to be that, especially if the degrees are right. So this is a very powerful conjunction in a way where you can either you have the ability to control the world, or you have the ability to become the most infamous figure in your life, depending upon how you handle the situation. But as far as like communication is concerned, that becomes the most important thing, because Mercury is the smallest planet here, and Mercury is being impacted by these two very aggressive planets, very realistic, practical planets. So they're going to infuse their energy with Mercury, and Mercury is going to lay its message out to everybody. So whatever message I am giving here, if let's say I had this conjunction, I would be really hardcore cold-headed in my thing. I'm like, no, this is what this planet represents, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Where right now, I'm like, well, this planet represents this, but you know what? I remember this astrologer say that this is also what this represents, this planet represents. And then I've heard something from other people that this planet represents this. So I take on all these things. I am open to these things, but somebody else might be more like, no, this is it. If this planet does an aspect, it does not aspect. Like Rahu has no aspect, and that is it. I don't believe in anything else. Where I'm like, well, Rahu does have aspect. Rahu has this aspect, that aspect. because it works, and I've read it here, I've seen it here, and I've seen it work in my thing. So it just, this is a more of a very hardcore belief. Like if you want somebody to believe in your message and to get your message across, find a person with this conjunction, convey them, and you will never have to look back. Okay. So guys, this was my analysis of Mercury, Mars, Saturn conjunction. If you're new to my channel, subscribe below. And if you want to know where your conjunction is placed, all your other planetary placements, my reports, books, consultations, for that, check out the links here. Otherwise, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.